Okay, I think we're all back to the plenum now, almost. And I would like, first of all, to thank you all for participating in this group exercise. It's always a bit of a gamble to see how things work. I thought, all in all, it was quite an interesting experience to see people. Most of you haven't met each other before, and engaging in a conversation that is quite technically driven, that requires a lot of to connect a lot of different technologies and a lot of different ideas, and quite a few groups really engaged and got some interesting insights. Now, I also have to say that, as I pointed out before, this is a very sketchy version of what we're doing, and we're really starting with the part with the network visualization, and the interactive part is not there yet. But it was very interesting to see how you related with it. Just a few clarifications. One is that, in this version you have kind of mix between companies and sectors. Here you only see the sectors, but when you change to your own versions, you see kind of this mix between companies and sectors. And usually what you have is that you will have a mix of a selection that you make consciously. So in the tool you will select, I want to see subsectors, I want to see companies, I want to see them together, and under which types of constraints. So these were the different challenges. I won't go in detail in each of them. But what I wanted to just briefly say is that one interesting aspect of these different challenges that we had is that you had spread around the graph in each side one of these challenges. So energy was mainly on the top of the graph. Then you had the idea of gas and biogas on that side. You had the water on this side, very heavily and clearly located. And then the challenge with collaborative consumption was not so much in what is already there, but what can we find? And you all got kind of these different perspectives on these different challenges. So that was quite interesting. Now, for the plenum, I will invite Anya, who will moderate with me. I will take some notes, and we will invite you to come with questions. By the way, before I forget, in the badge, for the very geeky ones in the audience, if you have a QR scanner, you can get the business card of the other just by scanning the QR code. But I mean, it's not something most of you will do, but you can do if you want. So we will post these three questions, and I will let Anya moderate while I am taking some notes from the different questions. Is that?
Yes.
No?
Okay. I was just wondering whether we have somewhere another space where we could just collect what's been talked about during the challenges.
Yeah, we can start with that too.
If we have anyone with a black pen, okay, you can collect that. So what we're thinking of doing now is basically collect your thoughts on discussing those challenges, and then we have three specific questions, and one is your experience and expertise in how you currently identify collaborative partners or new technology you need for your purposes. And the second is then, what are the insights that you gained today, or the thoughts that been running around in your head now based on the visualization you got? And thirdly then, what are the next steps you would like to see and you would like to do to become active beneficiaries? So, but maybe we could start out just by your impressions on the challenges, and sort of just understanding them, and then also saying what are the components we need, what are the companies we need. So would any group like to start what you discussed to start with? Maybe if we can point to the water one, if the water one would like to. Okay, there's spread out, yeah.
Take that many notes, so I can start a little bit. But we had the challenge of bringing affordable, clean water to all.
Yeah.
So technically, the key issue is energy. Mm-hmm. Cleaning water takes a lot of energy, so that's.
Okay, so then.
So that is a challenge in itself. So if you had to look at this, so what could be the solutions? The best solution is don't pollute the source. So don't pollute the water.
Yeah.
Then you can drink it. then clean your wastewater and reuse water, be energy efficient, you could say. Then we had a little bit discussions, who could we engage, and we had some very good technical insight people in the group who had a lot of ideas of membranes and the straw that has been developed, which actually requires so much energy from the person using the straw that they cannot drink enough. So that is a problem as well. But there are some technologies out there, and to use. The big challenge is to make it affordable, because it takes a lot of energy to clean water. So it comes back to this thing. But then we discussed a little bit if we could divert into other areas. I mean, we diverted into the energy field for sure.
Yeah,
but I had some ideas. Maybe the mining raw material sector could, because they have a lot of reuse of water in the mining industry elsewhere in the world.
Yeah.
So that could be a solution. Then we had some who had some ideas about software, bringing in software. I was not quite sure how we
monitoring the sources.
Monitoring the sources.
You need to know if it is polluted.
Yeah. Cheap software, I suppose.
Yeah.
Affordable software.
That's not ours.
So quite quickly in your discussion, firstly you'd say, okay, we're here with our challenge, but actually we need to explore other industry subsectors with the right technology to solve that challenge.
They might come up with something new or innovative or different that could make it more affordable.
I think I also heard when
Maybe we have to say that we were actually trying to identify the problem itself to begin with.
Yeah.
So what is the problem in Denmark regarding this water? And we actually identified it wasn't maybe that big a problem for Denmark. So how could we actually broaden our view on this? If we maybe in Denmark had developed systems that could be in use in other parts of the world where it was more needed. So we had to look at approach it in another way.
Yeah, that's a very good point. And also, when I was at your table, what I also heard is that, if I remember correctly, that Denmark is actually already quite good in clean water. But it may be useful to use that knowledge and export it. So you would still be needed to identify partners who would take it on board that you have such a good solution here in Denmark. So that approach would then go beyond Denmark and look at industrial international partners or other partners.
And just very
The
briefly
scope.
there, because it's really interesting. With the State of Green, they have also the idea of the solution that a company implemented, where it was implemented. So when it was implemented abroad, you can also identify, okay, if I want a partner for exporting clean water, this might not be related with water necessarily, but it might be somebody that worked in India before that happened to be there, that happened to be close to your firm, and that could partner up for internationalization. So we will embed that information too in the tool.
So we could also even infer perhaps that that's something you would like to see or do, like the international side could be. I'm switching a bit.
But there's one key point here, and that is, in Denmark we are very gifted. We have a membrane, a geological membrane, so we don't clean our water. We don't clean our drinking water at all. It is clean.
The limestone,
It's actually forbidden to clean drinking water in Denmark. So in that sense, we are very special. We are very gifted because of our geology as such. So Denmark is a little bit of a special case, but we have other advantages for this.
Yeah. I just had a glance at the clock, and it's actually 5 to 12 when we said 12. There is lunch already provided. Would it be okay with you to say we stop at a natural point, but latest at 15:15 with the plenum, wrapping it up, and then the buffet is yours? Would that be acceptable to people? Okay. All right. These are really good points, yeah. So technology here, having Denmark as a success case, looking at international sides as well. But starting with the technology. Maybe one more challenge. What's other people's thoughts on the maybe energy? Or
the world,
yeah.
Yeah, we can bring the challenge to do a collaborative consumption.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we discussed a lot of stuff, and basically we said that it's possible to find solutions that can solve the problem of getting a more shared economy, or like a circular economy, through, for instance, data, sharing knowledge, and having collaborations with your competitors, you could say. So you need some sort of, to do like a collaborative consumption, you need some sort of middleman, or like a third company or structure that provide that connection, the hub.
Okay.
But then who is going to do it? Who is going to finance it? That's the challenge.
Yeah.
Because if you're a knowledge company, like Ramble or some of the other advisors, then you need a client to pay.
Yeah.
But they will not pay you to create a hub. So you need somebody like on an overall level that wants to finance these things, and maybe we are also open to share budgets, because that's the other problem that we discussed, that sometimes you don't see the connection of what is one company's waste is the other company's input before you're actually in the design process. But then it's too late for the budgets, because if you're working with municipalities, then it's already split in one budget box and another budget box for that. So and it's too late to share them. And sometimes it happens, but it's very.
So you're actually pointing to even a step before.
Yeah. So either you put it out on a planning level, or you also open up that boxes are not being thought so much, or like both. And also the advantage of doing this, because when you're talking about a system or a service, then who is going to have it? That is difficult. So you need somebody to finance it, for instance, on a government level. And the reason for that should be that it's a competitive edge, because technologies are easy to copy. Wind turbines, it's just a matter of time before you have re-engineered a product and it's copied. But systems are very complicated to copy.
So that touched on quite a lot of points actually, because it's one, identifying the technology, and then also identifying what other services one needs and how to configure that. And that, I mean, also again, when I was at your table, I mean, you mentioned this example with the circular economy, and you knew in your surroundings, which in a biomass power plant, for example, the waste that is then going to just a neighbor who develops paper or whatever it is. But you know it because you have experience in the area. But such a map, annotated with the name of the companies and the geographical location, could provide the knowledge for someone who has not seen it before, or has not been in the area. So that's
And also we had a guy in the group that is like a data collector, like software data development. And he said also it's if you want to, because when you talk B2B, then that, for instance, is more about the infrastructure and so on. But if we talk C2C, then you need somebody to invest in it. And in Denmark, apparently, there's not capital or investors that are willing to risk
go the whole
in systems, in software.
Are there any other thoughts on your challenges?
I think one of our challenges was to find the relevance in the network, with the relevant players. It's just the whole filtering of all this information that is within the network. Maybe also getting some more information into the network. I'm just thinking that an example could be patents. I like patents. Getting information about the technologies and the IP within the companies, the relevance. Do they actually have something to give in to a collaboration. And that's some of the things we talked. We also talked about the global perspective, that it's also nice to go beyond Denmark and actually look into who are out there, who are thinking completely different from us. Please say.
Yeah, there were.
Can you talk a little bit about like the others about transparency? I think it's for a company. I'm not from a clean tech company, but we might be the users of a clean tech company, and for us it must be very visual if it makes sense, and where it makes sense to use this network. Let's say I have an idea, and but if it can help me be transparent, how I can make a solution, that's where I can go to a board, and not at least in economical, because that's I think that's what drives it all, because I think it must be economical, and then you also can have it clean, so that, but it can be a partnership.
It's very interesting what you say about transparency in the decision-making process, because in a way, one problem that we have is that often things are made like based on gut feeling. And that's fine, sometimes your intuition can be incredibly good, but when you need to explain to somebody else why you took this particular decision that is strategic in your company, it kind of helps to show something that is concrete and that everybody can see. It's not just in your head. So in a way, you might even know because you have their experience, but it's good to be able to show back and show the data in a way that is traceable.
We talk specifically about this was the oscillation issue, and if it was more visual, if you leave somebody to plan, if we had to plan in the Gecko, maybe we have some big dishwashers and we have some cooling. Storage and so on, and if we have to plan, it must be very visual for us, where we save and what we save, because if we can save some money at doing something, it must be very visual, because then we can have this number and go back to, then we get the feedback, and the quick feedback can help you get better. Get a slow feedback, it would be just forget it.
So what you're hinting at is actually, well, one thing is identifying, but then having some sort of prognosis as to the performance that could come out of this. Yeah, that's a demand. That's quite a next step. Yeah, that's good. Maybe going a bit over to just quick sort of jump-ins. How do you currently identify your partners or look at technology developments? Just maybe some keywords shouting in the room. What's the current mode of searching for partners? Finger in the air, maybe.
I guess Google is a good solution.
Okay. Yeah. Internet search, or Okay, for keywords.
Yeah, that's often the way we start.
Yeah. Okay.
Network. A lot of network.
Yeah. So arrangements, events.
Arrangements, and I would say also this cross-disciplinary aspect as well.
Yeah.
I mean, we used to just sitting together with different hats on.
Yeah.
And suddenly understand that you actually have a group could bring in a lot of knowledge, and also knowledge about companies who could actually be interested in bringing it in a new project.
Yeah, because that was is one of our ideas as well. So putting the groups together was partly, as Pedro said in his introduction, through the algorithm or through using the data behind this to set you together. And then, you see the different hats and you think, oh, maybe actually we could do something together, or someone knows someone else. But it was data-driven how we put you together. And so that's one point. Thank you. Any other ways how you currently do it?
Databases.
Yeah. Okay.
Company databases. They could be.
Okay. But basically, what I'm hearing or maybe interpreting in it is individual elements like databases, like keyword search. It is what Pedro mentioned as counting rather than yet connecting. The connecting part is then what you probably in your brains do at the moment. Oh. And here the idea is then to go further and say, can we connect? And give you a suggestion for a potential connection. You still have to decide, of course.
It's about this collaboration funnel, because if you start a search, you are narrowing down without realizing. And there is this idea of the tyranny of Google searches, right? Because the ranking, you don't control it. And the keywords that you input will change dramatically the results that you get, even though they might be very equivalent keywords.
But I think that especially the networking is exploring.
Mm-hmm.
That's how I see it, like events. But if you can narrow it down and you just don't take any networking, but you are within, if you focus on clean tech, then it's clean tech events. Then you meet and you explore new opportunities.
Yeah. So, what would you? Oh,
I think it's also important to see it as a task where you just, it's not an A to B. There's a lot of iterations in it, so you get smarter and smarter over time, and then you get an idea for how to find things.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it has an iterative nature.
Yeah, that's actually also a good point. I mean, here this kickoff, it is a kickoff really. We said, okay, it's maybe at the first funnel to identify partners, but it is an iteration. You can have a first set, try something out, and then maybe evaluate, say, no, this doesn't work, I need more technological competencies. Maybe I look at the technology map rather than the geography map, and I'll try again. Exactly. Yeah, okay, very good point. Mm-hmm. It's iterations.
I am from the Copenhagen School of Marine Engineering and Technology Management. Very short, it's called the School of Engineering and Power. So when I look at this from an education institution, this is something I think you need also to teach people or students actually to be very open towards other elements that could be useful for you in your function. So for us, we need to understand that this is something we have to teach our students.
Yeah, I mean, we have, well, some who are here could maybe vouch for it, but we're trying to sort of see this also in a change context or transformation context. Say, okay, we're engineers, we're developing the technology, but we need to implement it, and for that we also need the partners, and therefore we sort of see it as a change process, implementing it, and using network analysis to do that. But yeah, it could be better or more, doing more at it. Yeah.
Another thing that we do is doing a lot of data mining of big informations and trying to source something that we're doing and we're trying to develop going forward. Trying to go in. It always starts with the sources. What kind of information do you have? An example could be you could go into granting databases. Who have receiving grants? There's also a lot of information on what are the projects. If you start mining on those sources of information, you can suddenly find things that you wouldn't find in a Google search.
So yeah, who's been co-working on a project, or who's co-published, or who has been part on a patent application? Yeah, exactly. What did you like from the discussions in the groups and also the introduction where we shared our vision or idea? What insights did you gain, or what is going on around in your head, and you could maybe explore further? There's a lot of questions at once. What insights did you gain? Or what other information may you need to cement the insight?
For example, did you know or thought about the idea of going from just the directory approach, kind of just searching company after company, versus just trying to pull all the information at once and see what happens? I guess this is kind of one of the things that we were wondering about, how much you can visualize that the whole data was already there. It's just that it was in a very different form.
Dan, you have a...
Just very overall that also what I started out saying, there are many different ways of making sense of the data. We had our way of doing it, perhaps a bit more silo-based approach where you try and break them down and look at it there. But I think in all cases, and this has been a challenge for us as well, is that it has to be focused on the receiver, the person using it. And in our case, the challenge was that there was also a lot of focus on who is the sender of it, which is obviously important as well. But I think that really tapping into how do you use this resource and this data in the best possible way, the easiest way for the end user. I think that's also for just touching upon number 3, what would we expect of it, is that also that it has to be as simple as possible, as bottom up perhaps as possible. We also talked about that it could be interesting perhaps looking at it also from a technology-based perspective. So you obviously have the sectors, subsectors, but also the associated technologies from the different companies, and trying to look at it that way, because that was our outset, looking at, well, we have a challenge, what kind of technology could solve that challenge, and then based on that, trying to look at it bottom up, well, what are the different associated subsectors and sectors also cross-border, and perhaps become inspired by that.
Yeah, that's a good point. The bottom up is, we are looking at sort of 4 factors, you could say. One is the technology landscape, and that's one of the data. One could have annotated it here. The same map or similar with the technological capabilities of companies. And then you could also look at the industry subsectors, the geography, and the organizational size, or you could plot this on small and medium-sized and large companies or combination. So this is different ways of visualizing similar or same data, and this was an example here to do it with the subsectors. But what we're going forward is much more specific on the technology and work with individual companies and cases. And if some of you are interested to engage further in a very specific dialogue, for your company and your sector association, then that's the next step. What we can provide here today as a kickoff, giving you the vision and the overview and showing some of the possibilities that are there. And then it's the more detailed work with individuals. So that's a good point.
And, Yeah, we will send you all the material to your email, and we will send you a link to subscribe to the newsletter, so we will know. You subscribe to the newsletter, we assume you want to hear what happens next, and we will invite you also to participate more actively. But if you have a particular kind of interest in being an early adopter of the tool and in participating in shaping it too, because with your inputs we might shape it in a particular direction, then please do contact us and let us know what are your ideas, and we might be able to set up the first kind of test scenarios and cases that will run the next of the development process.
Yeah, so that's one. And I mean, the data is there to a large extent. So you're not guinea pig in the sense of there's nothing there yet. Quite the opposite. I mean, there's a lot of data, and we can now mine it. We couldn't. The other reason for not also showing very detailed which organizations where, it's also some sensitivity issues with the capabilities that we have. But what we show is what is publicly available for anyone to access. But we can go much deeper, and we have in this portal, as we call it, a platform, there's opportunities to also close some areas off and just have them accessible to the company that provided the data. So when you provide, you gain more also. But your data can be locked away if needed. So we collected also when going around to the groups. I heard quite a lot of also on this part. Or when you were working with the material, what you were. But where's this? Where's this? So I noted this down. It's kind of what would you like to see and do next. So thank you very much for that. I think promising that we would close at 1:15. I just have maybe 1 or 2 more sentences. And firstly, we thank you for being here, and also especially for our, here in this fine environment with a house of green by state of green. So this is wonderful. Thank you very much. And we hope that with this event you've enjoyed the morning, and or that maybe you made some new contacts through the discussions. And if you would like to more down to earth follow up now with us, you're very, very welcome. We're looking for active beneficiaries, as I mentioned at the start, and can also be part of some of the events or some of the activities that you do in your companies. So not host something extra, but be a supplier, be part of it, helping you in your activities. So yeah, with that, again, thank you very much. And now just say, well, thank all the organizers, and the buffet is open. We're here until 1, and feel free to approach us, talk with us, or amongst each other, or just even have a very good day. So thank you very much.
Thank you.